So, you just wish you could save the position of certain bones and...
Today we're going to talk about the pose library that comes in Blender, which not everybody knows about, and also the pose library thumbnails add-on, which is an old add-on that Sieber and Stubel has been maintaining lately because they use it in the Blender Animation Studio, and I think everybody should use it for their productions because it makes things easy. It's not a fully fledged animation and pose library. Definitely subscribe, give a like if you like the content, and yeah, let's check out how this works. So here I have JNRig, and as you can see, I've already created some poses. So you can see you have these little buttons here. These ones are for reordering them. There's that's one thing. So we got a few poses for one hand, and really we can't do it in a simple way like to copy that to the other side. It's with the default system, it's kind of off the question. Luckily, because I haven't set any keys, and none of these are setting keys, so I can easily just copy and paste invert it if I wanted to do that. And then that will copy the post to the other side, and then you can key it. But it's a little bit of a hassle, right? First, before we move forward into the post library add-on, we'll figure out how to create this. So super easy. This is the one that I created for the hands. And now I'm just going to create one for the face. So I'm going to close this. As you can see, I click this. You should click it. So when you get rid of this, then it stays stored in the file. And we're going to create a new one. And it's going to be called Jane Facials, right? So let's say that's our pose. And so we want to basically save that pose. We're going to keep the rest zeroed out. And then this guy is there, and so because we're going to add new pose, right? And so I can reset everything because we're going to save that pose. We're going to keep the, so let's say that's our pose, and so we want to basically save that pose. We're going to keep the rest zeroed out. And then this guy is there, and so because we're going to add new pose, right? And so I can reset everything and then apply the pose, and we get right? And so we're going to zero it out. And then this guy is there, and so productions, because it makes things easier. And now I'm just going to create one for the face. So I'm going to close this. As you can see, I click this. You should click it, so when you get rid of this, then it stays stored in the file. And we're gonna create a new one, and it's gonna be called Jane facials, right? So let's say that's our pose, and so we want to basically save that pose. We're gonna keep the rest zeroed out. And then this guy is there, and so because we're going to add new pose, right? And so I can reset everything and then apply the pose, and we get we're going to reset everything again. And now we're going to install and turn on the post library add-on. So we're going to go to a link, post library on, and it only does the finger that I selected. So before we show how to create the library, and you're gonna see that I can find here in my data blocks for the actions, I can pick that one up, and if I turn on the layer that contains the hands and select the hand, I can potentially use it, right? And then I can apply flipped again and then do the same with the other hand, and that should work, right? Right? If I click here, I'll get the proper naming convention for the thing, which I don't know what's the big deal about it, but that kind of works. And you can use it in both.
So, you just wish you could save the position of certain bones and call them whenever you want. Not a problem. In order to save a pose, select all the bones involved. Under the running man, go to Pose Libraries, New, press the plus, Add New, and name the pose whatever you want. You're done. And when you're done, make sure that you check this button. Otherwise, you will lose all of your data, even if you save. Why the flying f*** this isn't set to on by default is beyond me. But make sure that button is checked or everything you did that day is gone. You can add as many new poses as you want by repeating the process and selecting Add New. Or if you want to change an old pose, select it, fix your bones, and click Replace Existing. Once you've got all your poses, you can activate them by picking one and clicking on the magnifying glass.
It's with a Blender Studio membership, but we're going to use this for our example. Make sure that you're actually, or when you're working with your pose library, and so when When you tap the in key and click on animation, you can click on pose library in order to see the different poses saved in your asset library. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag a new window over here, and I want to put this in here as an asset browser window. So we're just going to click the drop down, click on asset browser right here. Notice how the poses that are already in here show up both in my asset library and in my pose library over here. Notice how I can click on these. So for example, if you look at the eyes and I click on the eyes like this, notice how I can click on these in order to quickly go between the different poses that are saved in here inside of my scene. So not only is this working with the face, notice how this is also working with the hand. So you can see how the hand will go to the different poses if I click on them right here. And so let's say that we wanted to create and save a pose. Well, what we want to do is we want to start by going into pose mode in our model, and then I'm just going to click on something, in this case probably this foot right here. Notice how this is rigged already. So because it's already rigged, it's really easy to save this pose. But what we want to do in this situation is once we create or we have the foot in the location that we want, so I just clicked on this and moved it around, we just want to select the relevant bones. So I'm just going to click and drag around here. We could probably pick up all of these, but I think I'm just going to pick these up right here. But now what we want to do is we want to create a new pose. So we've got our knee up in the air. So let's create a pose asset by clicking on the Create Pose Asset button. Right here. So if I click on that, notice what that's going to do is that's going to add a pose at the bottom of the page or at the bottom of the list right here. And so you can select that right here, or if you want to edit it, you can go over into your asset browser right here and find that inside of your scene. So if I scroll down, notice how that's just showing up here as Rig Rex. Well, what we want to do is we want to tap the N key. That's going to pop up a little window right here, and that's going to allow us to rename this. So in this case, we're going to name this knee underscore up, like this. So now we have a pose in here where our character has their knee up in the air like this. Well, now let's create another one with our knee down. So we're just going to bones again, and out inside of your asset library right here, you have a knee up and you have a knee down. And notice how clicking on these over here doesn't do anything. You either need to right click and click on apply pose if it's over here, or you just need to find them inside of your actual pose library on the right hand side. So you have your knee down, you have your knee up. You can click between those in order to make them active. So another cool thing about this is if you click on one, right, like this knee down right here, and then you click on the knee up and drag left to right, notice how this is going to animate a transition between one pose and the other. And if you look at the top of the page, you see how it says